What's going on, guys? Welcome to another episode of Renegade Jukebox on the Renegade Pop Culture Podcast Network. My name is Mike. Joining me, of course, is my co-host, Nick.
Coming at you like a 10-ton hammer, son.
And that's right. We are continuing on with our Machine Head retrospective. This time, we are talking about the follow-up to Burn My Eyes, 1997's The More Things Change. And before we start getting into the album itself, boy, is that title apt, as this is the first record to feature Dave McClain on the drums. Overall, sonically, how do you think that changed the record, if at all?
My thing is, I think Dave, like as great as Chris is on the drums, I think Dave was like the first introduction to more complexity and technicality in the music. That's the main thing that I kind of pick up on, especially specific moments on the album. It really shows his skills. I mean, again, no disrespect to Chris at all, as great as he is, I do think Dave is the better drummer.
I would probably agree with that as well. And there are a few tracks in particular that have rightfully awarded them the genre of progressive metal, according to Wikipedia.
Which I don't know if I necessarily say that, especially with the albums from 2003 onward. But I guess we might as well just tear the Band-Aid off, if you don't mind, Mike. This is going to be kind of the boring episode because, like, don't get us wrong, this album's phenomenal. It's great. It's just I'm just going to put it this way, the way I put it to Mike. Of the 5 out of 5 albums, this is the one 5 out of 5 album that I return to the least, even as a big fan.
And that's a thing. And it's kind of the same story with a lot of second albums. It's not that this falls prey to the sophomore slump. It's just barring a few exceptions, most of what we like about this album, it either is just an extension of Burn My Eyes, or it's different but not quite different enough.
Yeah, it is kind of just a reskin of Burn My Eyes. Like, this thing, I can't blame them for wanting to keep a more similar sound, because if it worked that good before, why not try to do it again? And just, there's not a lot of like really amazing studio stories I can really tell about it. All I've heard is that apparently Rob got so pissed during the mixing process, that he actually was like chucking chairs at the wall and breaking shit. Like, he was getting pissed about having to follow up such a great album. And I can't say he did a poor job, but I'm also just kind of going, you know what? Yeah, this could have used a little bit more to mix it up, I guess. But there's at least some hints at possible directions they would go in the future. And I don't mean directions they'd go in on the next album, but that's another story for another episode.
Yeah, we'll get to the step-headed red child.
No pun intended.
In the future, but for now, we got to start with, shocker, another great opening track, 10-Ton Hammer,
which, by the way, has an extended opening technically.
Yeah, did we ever find out a reason why on the album itself it's kind of shortened?
I have no clue, as usual. Apparently, like, this isn't even a case of like Load from Metallica where they have to shorten the Outlaw Torn because otherwise the CD's not going to play if the album exceeds 80 minutes. This is a 52-minute album roughly, so it's just kind of puzzling to me. Other than maybe, I don't think that this would have gotten radio play to begin with, but on the off chance that it might have, I don't know. I guess repeating the riff too much might have thrown people off, I guess.
It's possible.
Either which way, yeah, great opening track. This is also kind of the beginning of the more personal side of Machine Head coming to the front.
Yeah,
especially with that chorus.
Yeah, I've noticed that it's starting to feel like each succeeding album we get a little bit more of Rob opening himself up and really pouring his soul out into like the lyrics.
Yeah, well, the thing with this song though is that it doesn't undercut the idea of this song is called 10-Ton Hammer, and it literally sounds like you're getting into a fight with somebody who's a 10-ton hammer.
True.
And no guitars. That's the other thing that you kind of start to notice about this album. There's not a lot of guitar solos or shredding on this, sans a few tracks.
Yeah, I had to look up this album to make sure that just to remind myself that Mater was still in the group at the time, because I didn't quite feel his presence on this the same way I did Burn My Eyes.
I could still notice it. I mean, just kind of judging from the 2 music videos I watched, which, guys, if you can, a little bit of a hint about the next album and just kind of, seeing photos of them in the press during touring behind this. Yeah, guys, corny outfits are always going to be a part of Machine Head, whether you like it. I love the band, but I know they have corny outfits. I mean, in the 10-Ton Hammer video, he literally looks like Mike Muir from Suicidal Tendencies. Bandana and everything. So, I mean, yeah, corny outfits. That's always going to be kind of Machine Head's shtick, whether you like it or not. But now it's not until the next song's music video that you actually notice change is beginning to happen. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge.
So you want to just go ahead and get into Take My Scars?
I'll get the music video stuff out of the way just because, I know. And I don't want to say too much about the next record because that one's going to be the more exciting one to talk about, I guess. But yeah, for all the people who's saying Machine Head changed on the next album, no, Pumpkin, no. Did you not? I get not everybody's going to watch every music video for every band ever made, but you can't pick and choose when you decide to not like a band anymore, because this was when Logan started, because this is 1997, guys, right when nu metal's starting to get big. Logan puts his hair into dreadlocks and Rob full-blown shaves his head. And you can even notice Dave starting to, put the leopard prints in his hair. So even when they weren't playing or flirting with nu metal, it's literally like, guys, you can tell some of that starting to seep in.
Yeah, almost like they were I don't want to say like disguising themselves as a nu metal band, but fashion is like a virus. It will spread.
Yeah, and plus, given that Machine Head would tour with Pantera and Coal Chamber that year, it kind of makes sense that they'd start pulling from, well, just given that Pantera is still huge in the previous year, the Great Southern Trendkill came out. It makes sense, I guess, but to not have this be a fashion podcast and actually talk about the music. Yeah, Take My Scars is great too. That's that intro, that would probably be like the easiest thing I learned to play on guitar back in high school. It would just be like that da, 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 da. And then trying to get that dun, 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 heavier part down. It's more simple, but it's still easy and fun to play and still fun to listen to.
Mm-hmm. All I wrote down in my notes for that song is "This is Machine Head." For better for worse, I've noticed that Roadrunner has done a really good job of like picking the singles. We'll talk about the next album when we get there, but
yes.
but like so far out of their first two records, I look at the singles section on the Wikipedia page. It's like, yeah, that checks out.
Yeah, it's just the only problem is that the album now starts to, after track 3, the album really starts to feel front loaded.
Yeah, I'd be lying if I said I disagreed with that.
Because we might as well just jump right in. As great, like everybody knows 10-Ton Hammer and Take My Scars are great. We might as well just get the other good song on the album out of the way and then just kind of, I guess, pick and choose our favorites from the next 7.
Yeah, my personal favorite is Struck a Nerve, the third track, because it's really just a killer track. Anytime Machine Head breaks out like the more thrashier elements to the sound, it just hits a very, very sweet spot for me.
I'm not gonna make the low-hanging fruit joke. I'm not going there. But anyway, yeah, the song, just the fact that it sticks purely to the thrash side of things, that's the only time. Well, I guess maybe Bay of Pigs.
A little bit at least.
Yeah, like those are the only 2 songs that really get kind of thrashy.
Because the rest of the album is a little more mid-tempo, for better or for worse.
Yeah, it's definitely more on the groove side of things rather than the thrash and just keeping the D beat going. It just kind of feels more like this is more of a groove based album rather than, just purely assaulting you with, like, it'll assault you with double bass, but it's a little more, I guess you could say, tastefully placed.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Down to None. I like the song, but I don't come back to it as much.
I'm not really a big doom metal fan, and while if that's their intention for this track, like especially in the beginning, it has very doomy sort of elements to the instrumentals. If that was their intention, then they clearly executed it well. It's just that genre is not necessarily my cup of tea.
From what I'm aware, apparently Rob was listening to more like hardcore punk and Neurosis at this point, so that kind of adds up with this song for me.
Oh yeah, that definitely makes a lot of sense.
Can I rip the Band-Aid off and talk about something really fucking horrifying?
Yeah, might as well.
Yeah, because like the next song, The Frontlines, used to be one of my favorites that I would come back to on this record, but now I kind of ruined it. So there's one interview that Rob was doing at his house for promo for The More Things Change, and Rob gets the idea to feed his pet snake, which, cool, do what you want. You have a pet snake, nothing, no issue with that. Here's how he feeds it. So he takes out a box and there's a live rat in it. It's not that he feeds it to the snake alive. It's that he literally says the only way he can get the snake to eat it is by grabbing it by the tail, bashing it against the bathtub and then letting it twitch and then let the snake eat it, which he does on camera.
Jesus.
Set to the riff of this song. And now I'm just like, yeah, thanks, Rob. Now I'm not going to listen to this so much anymore.
I have not seen that video, but like Nick did such a good job of describing that that the image is just completely burned into my brain.
Yeah, it's the definition of a video on YouTube you never need to see, so please don't. And I know I shouldn't let that affect a song, but literally it just sets it so perfect to the riff. I'm just like, okay, now I kind of can't disassociate it with it now. Can we talk? I guess we can't really talk about something happier because we have to talk about the next song.
I was gonna say, you title the track "Spine," which doesn't necessarily elicit sunshine and rainbows.
It's not so much that. Let's mainly talk about the music here, just to kind of like at least ease people into this.
All right, I'll
Yeah.
say this. I love me a good bass intro, and anytime Adam Duce gets to shine, always makes me happy.
Yeah, like this is, to be honest, there's not a lot of like harmonies and like times that Rob and Adam really get to kind of share, unless it's kind of buried in the mix that I can't pick up on. But yeah, and anytime Adam and Rob get to shine together, you get magic on each of, especially some of the following records we're going to talk about. The main thing here is this is the definition of when Machine Head really get to the more personal lyrical content, and I don't want to spoil too much, but it relates to abuse towards children, and it's kind of a hint at directions that they would go on much later, but I'm gonna save that for when we talk about the next album. But like, as for the music on this, music's still punchy and aggressive. This is probably what I'd say is one of my favorite tracks on the record that aren't 10 Ton Hammer or Take My Scars.
I'd agree with that. I also noticed a little bit of not necessarily prog elements, but you can kind of tell that that Dave is bringing more to the table than just acting as Chris's replacement.
Yeah, that's the other thing too, that especially we'll talk about with the following records, is that a lot of people do tend to underrate Dave as one of the main songwriters in the band. So I have a feeling that he contributes a lot more, because apparently he even writes some guitar stuff on the next album, so which we'll get to. Now we gotta talk more politics again.
Yep, as the next song is literally called Bay of Pigs.
Yeah, the reason for it is it's literally about the California police. So this is Machine Head's way of saying fuck the police on this song, and it's one of the few times that the album gets, I wouldn't say fast, but faster.
Yeah, sounds about right. Also, I gotta say, I'm embarrassed to admit it just hit me now what a great play on words the title is.
I'm not gonna lie, man. It called a "dat why I'm dumb" moment. I'm not. It's kind of going over my head.
Bay of Pigs is another name for the Cuban Missile Crisis.
Okay. See, this is what I get for going to the school I went to. We didn't really study too much. We didn't study that much like international politics or like major historical events. It would usually be like the most either current stuff at the time, or they'd like, I don't know, we'd study like China and Japan. So yeah, call me dumb all you want for not picking up on that.
Hey, it's not your fault.
Yeah, Yeah. Now we got to get back to the awkward talk, especially given the next album exists, but I will jump ahead about one point about it a little. Next song, Violate. Wow, this is Machine Head experimenting with song lengths in a kind of genius way. Like, this is them kind of having the song be creepy crawly, but at the same time, it's not too drawn out.
Is this the longest song in their discography, or
We will get to that later. way,
oh
way
wait,
later.
wait. Okay. I forgot about that for a second, but it's at least the longest on this record, and
Yeah.
I'm impressed that like at no point does it feel too bloated or too padded in any sense.
Yeah, or too dirgy. I mean, just kind of looking through the lyrics, I kind of notice it's very similar to Spine, especially knowing what we know, having heard the third album. But at this point, I do kind of interpret it as kind of a similar theme as Spine has. I mean, even when Rob was playing From This Day live, when the next album comes out, he would always introduce the song with like the opening lyrics of Violate, and then just kind of let the guitar ring out and then go right into the song.
Interesting way to like to start that song live, but I get it. Those are pretty powerful lyrics.
Yeah, well, some people would argue that, yay, some people thought in the crowd, some people might make the joke that, oh, he's trying to get people to think they'll play a good song. But no, Violate. It's a killer track, and then especially because the last 3 minutes just explode on you.
Oh yeah, those last 3 minutes are brutal.
Yeah. Next song, Blistering. I do like the riffing on it, but I've kind of got to be honest, this is another one of those. I don't revisit this song again, not because it's bad, just there is more interesting stuff I find on the later records that I prefer to go back to. And while I do like the kind of harmonics from the guitars on it, I don't revisit this track very much. I don't have much to comment on.
All I have in my notes is I pointed out that the harmonics are something you will kind of hear more of later in their discography, but it is kind of cool. It is kind of cool if this is your first time listening to the band, that like I don't want to say this is where they invented harmonics, but like you listen to this track for the first time and this is like unmistakably a Machine Head song.
Yeah. The one that I mainly have more to say about, and probably my favorite non-single track on the album, is Blood of the Zodiac.
Yeah, another long-ish track on the record, and another one that I just put in my notes, prog-ish.
Yeah, this is I kind of describe it as the beginning of their prog leaning that they'll kind of go to from 2003 onward. I mean, it has a lot more complicated solo work. It has a lot more parts that are, easy to identify, but still feel like part of one huge track. And it really is a great way to close off the record. I kind of interpret it as, part of me wants to say it's about drugs. Part of me also wants to say it's something political. Maybe it's a mixture of both.
I mean, there is like you can discuss politics and drugs kind of in the same breath.
Yeah, definitely. But that's all we have to. Did you listen to any of the bonus tracks? Because I did.
I I haven't. And I don't know if Spotify even has the bonus tracks.
Okay, well, I guess I'm gonna kind of just leave it. I guess this is probably gonna be the quickest one that we've done for Machine Head, at least. Um, because the possibility of life's destruction is a Discharge cover. Yeah, it's only a minute and 30 seconds, but it's a good hardcore cover. My Misery, I'm not gonna lie, I think it sounds like something that easily could have been written before this album. I mean, even when Rob was doing a live stream with Logan and Chris playing Burn My Eyes in its entirety, they included this song in the live stream. So maybe it was written before the other tracks, before Dave joined. I'm not sure, but I don't know. Part of me argues it should be on the album. And then we have a very surprising color for people who said Machine Head don't rap. Well, colors, colors,
Oh,
colors, colors. Yeah, they cover Colors by Ice-T on one of the bonus tracks. So Machine Head showing the hip hop influence to their sound, which, yeah, this is initially I wasn't sure how to feel about it when I heard it back like 10 years ago, but hearing it again, listening to it more, I dig it. I have no idea what they're doing with Dave's drum kit, but it at least sounds authentic and true to the original.
and even Ice-T himself, you know, um, as the frontman of Body Count, his like he has his foot in the door of metal. So covering one of his solo tracks isn't like completely far fetched, especially for Machine Head.
Yeah, and that's kind of all I really have to say about the More Things Change. Like I said, it's just kind of, yeah, it's another 5 out of 5 album, but at the same time, it's again, I just like the later records a lot more. And they, trust me, with the next one, we'll have a lot more to talk about. But really, this album pretty much belongs to 1997, and its main drawback is just that it has to follow up Burn My Eyes.
Yeah, that album is it is a tough act to follow. But speaking of 97, that year was a pretty banger year for metal. On Wikipedia they reference an article from Metal Hammer listing off the top 20 best metal albums of 97. Would you agree that The More Things Change belongs in that conversation, or are there other titles that feel more deserving?
I think it's deserving, especially just given that people still have this mindset that the 90s metal was dead, metal wasn't getting promoted there. Like, yeah, if you were just exclusively paying attention to MTV, sure, but especially if you're a melodic death metal fan like me, getting new albums from In Flames and Dark Tranquillity, Children of Bodom, not a mellow death band, but City by Strapping Young Lad. I mean, there was plenty of great music to go around at that point.
Yeah, I'm looking at this list now, and I almost kind of forgot about albums like Emperor's Anthems to the Welcome at Dusk and Dimmu Borgir's Enthroned Darkness Triumphant. So there is a little bit of something for everyone um, during this time.
Yeah, which I guess that kind of makes the more thing, just given how important Burn My Eyes is, it does kind of make the More Things Change feel less like this big revolution than it does just, hey, it's another Machine Head album. But I guess the only note I can really leave this off on is that even Rob was starting to feel this, just kind of judging based off of interviews and podcasts I've seen him do. The band arguably did need to change things up on the next album, and boy, did things change. But I think we'll just leave that conversation until the next episode.
Yeah. The next one will be, it'll be interesting for sure. It'll be a first time listen for me, listening from top to bottom, and despite its mixed reception, I'm very curious to see how I'll react.
And I guess we should just leave it at that. At least keep people on their toes then. No history, because I'm just gonna kind of leave that for the next episode. Just again, keep people on their toes, and plus it does tie into album number 3. But that's all I got. More things change. Do listen to it. It at worst, compared to an A+, it's an A-.
I think that's fair. But until our next installment, Nick, where can everyone find you online?
Super Saiyan Death Metal God on Instagram. I post exclusively album covers and movies, and I just saw the new Scream movie last night, so go see it.
Hell yeah. And you guys can find me on Twitter at Captain K42. You can check out my quick thoughts on letterboxd.com/Coach K42. And you can find me in all the various Facebook groups just at my name. You can check out Renegade Pop Culture on Facebook and Twitter at Ren Pop Culture. Look for us on Podchaser. Listen to all of our podcasts on Anchor, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, etc. And last but not least, everything can be found at renegadepopculture.com. Need an escape? So do we. That'll do it for this episode of Renegade Jukebox. Thank you guys for joining, and we will catch you guys later. Peace out.